You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Friday edition of Oilers Nation every day, as always, coming to you live at noon Mountain Time on the Nation Network YouTube, Oilers Nation on Facebook, and Oilers Nation on Twitter. Are we still live on Twitter? Is Twitter still kicking? I feel like at any point in this broadcast, Twitter could go up in flames and we won't be streaming there. So just to be safe, why don't you come join us on YouTube? Hop in the YouTube chat. Hammer that like button. We have a good time in that YouTube chat. Anyways, there is a lot to get to today on the show, so let's get into it all with the lead. You're probably thinking the lead should be Mattias Janmark playing on the top line with Connor McDavid, but no, the lead today is the updated Sports Closet Studio. Look at this bad boy. A little Connor McDavid reverse retro action. I still think there's a little bit too much orange, but there are areas of the jersey that I like the orange. I like the crest. I think that's nice. I like the stitching as well. Very nicely stitched. That orange is a nice accent on the navy. There you go. Give you a full view of it. Shout out to Sports Closet, sportscloset.ca. Actually, a cool little thing on this reverse retro jersey. It doesn't say Adidas on the back. Like this one says Adidas right there. This one doesn't. I think it gives it like kind of a unique look. Anyways, sportscloset.ca. You can pick up the reverse retro gear starting on Sunday in one of their 3 locations. It'll also be up on their website. They also have the Hockey Fights Cancer jersey. Tomorrow night is Hockey Fights Cancer Night down at Rogers Place. Sure, everyone knows someone who's been affected by cancer. I know our guy Surveyor Brett, his wife's battling right now. He said he's going to the game tomorrow with his son, so certainly hoping Surveyor Brett and his son have a nice night there, and always wishing him the best, a diehard Nation citizen. Anyways, let's get into the hockey here. The Oilers practiced ahead of their game tomorrow against the Vegas Golden Knights, and we got some new look lines that we need to talk about. Mattias Janmark, your eyes are not deceiving you. He is up on the Oilers' top line with Connor McDavid down the middle and Zach Hyman flipped over to the right side. A totally new look top line for the Oilers. The second line still has Warren Foegele on it, has Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on. I think Foegele and Nuge are switched. My bad. So Nuge on the left side, Foegele now on his off wing, playing the right side with Draisaitl down the middle. The third line is Ryan McLeod with the man himself, Klim Shady, playing on the left side. We didn't have a DFO jersey for him, so I just wrote Klim Shady over top of an Oilers jersey. Jesse Puljujarvi is on the right side of that line, and the fourth line is Devon Shore with Derek Ryan and Dylan Holloway. Interesting stuff here. Mattias Janmark, maybe not my pick to head up to the top line. I'll be honest, it kind of feels like we're back in the Ty Ratty era where, Ty Ratty, Alex Chiasson, whatever bottom sixer is feeling it, is skating at a decent clip, can play on the top line with McDavid. It's kind of upsetting. Not great. Anyways, Liam, I'm going to bring you in because you had the idea yesterday of, hey, why not go with Klim Kostin on the top line with McDavid? And I kind of chuckled, but now I see Janmark up there and I go, I think I'd rather have Klim. I think I'd rather have him Kostin.
Yeah, interesting decision. I don't 100% disagree with it. I think he's an NHL player at the end of the day. Janmark is an established NHL player. He's capable of producing at this level. What do you have? Like 10 goals last year, maybe 9, whatever it was. Yeah, I think it's obviously not ideal. This team is thin right now with guys like obviously Kane and Yamamoto not playing and also Holloway not producing the way we want to, along with Puljujarvi. I don't disagree with trying to shake things up. I think Klim Shady would have been great on the top line, but also having those 2 big wingers next to Ryan McLeod, that's an interesting trio there too. I know Fogel's kind of been there, but Klim brings a different kind of size.
Yeah. And actually that's a good point. I think that third line has the ability to do some damage. Moving Jesse Puljujarvi off there makes a ton of sense. It's clear it wasn't working next to Connor McDavid at the moment. He's not scoring, and you got to score. And I think, again, we've had this conversation time and time again. it takes some pressure off Puljujarvi, just putting him on the third line and opens him up to just playing his own game. He's not worried about just trying to fire McDavid pucks on net and, oh God, what's going to happen if I fumble this chance, all that. Put him on the third line, let him thrive with Ryan McLeod. Yes, a Puljujarvi can be of value to a lineup if he is a good quality third liner who can produce a little bit of offense. The offense has got to come. We know that. But I like Puljujarvi in that spot, and I agree with you. I think that third line is a really unique blend. The second line, I think it's fine. I think Draisaitl and Nuge work together okay. I think Fogle is playing okay. I don't know. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I saw a guy, NHL Sid, said that line should be better defensively than the previous iteration of it. Okay, sure. If that's where you want to go with that, maybe it is. Maybe it's a little bit more trusty in the D zone starts. That's fine. The top line, though, that is obviously the big story. That is the dominating headline. I just don't see Janmark as a guy who's going to produce a ton there. And maybe it's forechecking hard and creating turnovers. Maybe he's veteran Kyler Yamamoto, right? Who just goes in, forechecks hard, creates some turnovers, opens up some space for Connor McDavid, and everything works out better. Zach Hyman on that line, I actually like. I think 97 and 18 work together really, really well. But I just put Holloway there. At least you have the offensive upside. I don't know.
Yeah, it's there's definitely some question marks with what's going on here. Holloway, I don't know. Like, he's had that top 6 opportunity and didn't really grab it. I think Janmark, like I said on the show yesterday, like it seemed like Janmark and Costin were kind of the two names on the radio they were really talking about outside of the bigger guys. So maybe he just earned a spot. I don't mind seeing that from Woodcroft, where the guy plays well and he gets an opportunity to play on the first line. Obviously not ideal, but he can skate well. He creates some chances. Like, the big thing for him is just getting to positions where McDavid can find you. And right now, the only guy who seems to really be able to do that is Hyman. So try out Janmark. It's not been done before, so who knows?
Catching up in the chat here. People were talking about if the reverse retros only come in Draisaitl or McDavid unless you get them custom. But Ryan pointed out Waz got a Nuge one. And I was at the game on Tuesday, and they did have some other players. I'd imagine Sports Closet's going to have a bunch. They go on sale Sunday at the Sports Closet. Someone was asking about Draisaitl not wearing an A on his jersey. They do rotate them around. You guys are right about that. Joey says, I'm ready for Holloway to go down. And yeah, like that's where I'm at too. We've talked about this a handful of times now. If you're missing Kyler Yamamoto, who we'll call him a top 9 winger, you're missing a top 6 winger in Evander Kane, and Dylan Holloway still can't crack this team's top 6, still can't crack the top 9 at all. Okay, let's be real here. What are we doing? Yesterday, we got the news that Tyler Benson is going down to Bakersfield for a conditioning stint. So he's going to get a chance to play some games. I'm double checking when Bakersfield plays this week. I think they're in action once or twice over the weekend. November 18th. Yeah, they play tonight, they play tomorrow, and they play on Tuesday. I would imagine conditioning stint, you play Benson back-to-back games. If he's down there already, play him on the 18th, play him on the 19th. If he's good to go, I think he's probably ready to join the Oilers on the road trip. So when you head out on the road trip, you go out to New Jersey as a team. Dylan Holloway goes to Bakersfield. Tyler Benson meets you in Jersey. And I think you're all good. I don't know. We talked about this with Frank and all of that. It doesn't make a ton of sense to go and keep playing this guy for 8 minutes a game on the forward line. I don't think he's gaining anything from this. Yes, there's a benefit to practicing against NHLers and learning about the game. Even those 8 minutes, sure, they're somewhat valuable, but it's just kind of getting out of hand at this point. It's getting unnecessary at this point. Play him 18 to 20 minutes down in Bakersfield for 2 months. If he lights it up, call him back up, right? It's not like he's a guy who needs waivers. It's not like baseball where you can only option a guy down to the minors 4 or 5 times or whatever. You can do this as much as you want, and you don't want to get into the habit of just yo-yoing him up and down, but send him down for at least a month. Let him play a ton of hockey and see if he can get some confidence, because I think that's a big thing with Holloway right now. I like him when he's out there. If they wanted to throw him on that top line tonight with McDavid, I'd be sitting here on the show talking about how much I love that and what a great opportunity it is for Holloway. But Woodcroft doesn't want to do that. So what are we doing now? It feels like maybe, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe there's a disconnect here, right? Does Holland want him to stay up? Is Woodcroft doing this to be like, hey, I'm not playing him? At that point, you'd think he'd be getting a healthy scratch. So maybe that's why there isn't that disconnect. But I think what else this kind of points out is that the Oilers need to go get a forward. Frank Seravalli was on the show yesterday. I asked him about defensemen the Oilers could target, and he said, forward. And then he was on with Bob Stauffer, and they were talking about the Oilers need to add some grit, some toughness to this bottom six. They brought up a name like Zach McEwen out in Philly. Maybe Philly's one of those teams that'd be itching to make a move right now, but I'm not sure how many teams are just going to be willing to make the kind of trade the Oilers want. Because Edmonton's not giving up a second or a third round pick to get the forward help they want right now. I'm sure they're more comfortable giving up a fourth or a fifth rounder. What kind of player are you going to get? On waivers today was Tyson Yost in Minnesota. And at first I was like, he's young. He's a local guy as well. St. Albert boy, was a 10th overall pick in 2016. Left shot centerman, can play the wing as well. But he doesn't score. He doesn't produce offense. Last year, he had 8 goals in 80 games. So he'll get you 1 goal every 10 games. And that's been fairly consistent with his career to this point. But he makes $2 million, so you can't touch him. So that's not an option. So maybe you got to wait and pluck someone off the waiver wire, but Tyson Yost costs too much money. Because what are you going to do when Kane's healthy? If you're stuck with Yost and you can only bury $1 million of them, you're screwing yourself cap-wise. Rusty says, Holloway just needs to get confident. Playing 8 minutes a night is not the way to do it. 100%. I think you're bang on. I think everyone in the chat's kind of agreeing. Like, this is when you just put a guy down, cut your losses. You would have loved for him to be in the top 6. You would have loved for him to predict or to pop up 50 points this year, but it's just not going to happen. I want to get to more of this with our friend Baggedmilk because it is Friday, so it's time for the Bro Down. Let's go.
It's Friday, so you know what that means? It's time for the Bro Down with Baggedmilk.
Always a good time when our boy Baggedmilk stops by. How's it going, BM?
I've been sitting here admiring the mustache, ready to talk Oilers. Just really thrilled to be here on another Friday,
Thank you. Let's get into what we were just talking about. Dylan Holloway. He's got to go down, right? Like you don't have an argument against that.
Send him down. It's just this isn't the spot for him to excel. And I know some people say that there's value in practicing with the NHL club, and I guess that's probably true to an extent, but you can't tell me that that is more valuable to him at this stage in his young career than playing 20 plus minutes in all situations with the Bakersfield Condors. He is going to play on the 4th line tomorrow night against Vegas. Is that really where you want him? No, it's not. You want a guy like, I heard you talk about Tyler Benson, and I'd be stunned if the plan isn't for him to go down to Bakersfield, get his legs up and under him, come back up, and then flip the 2. I'd be stunned because he's just such a better fit for that role. Right now, the role of playing on the 4th line under 10 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is, that's not where Holloway should be. He should be down playing with Bourgault, developing some chemistry, working on his craft, working on how to be a pro. This is a guy that's got, 40-ish total pro games under his belt. He's still young. This isn't the spot for him. There's too many expectations for the Edmonton Oilers. When he makes a mistake, he gets stapled to the bench, and I don't think that's what he needs right now. Let him go make the mistakes down in Bakersfield where he can work through them, where he can work on the craft of being a professional hockey player. That's what's best for him long-term, and arguably probably better for the Oilers in the short term as well.
Top 6 Matthias Janmark. Top line Matthias Janmark. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that this experiment's going to work?
Well, not great. I honestly, though, I'm not surprised that they put somebody up there with Connor and Zach Hyman. I'm really not. I think that I was honestly, I kind of liked Liam's idea of putting Klim Kostin up there. He's big. He's got a little bit of touch. He can skate. I don't know. But like at the same point, Janmark is a guy who has scored 18 NHL goals in a season before. He is a guy who has contributed at the NHL level. Is he first line player? No, he's not. He's really not. But the Oilers need to find some depth scoring. He's a veteran. He is unquestionably an NHL player. And maybe he could be smart enough to keep his stick on the ice and tap in some Connor McDavid passes. I don't know. We're going to see how this goes tomorrow. But I also wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see Nugent-Hopkins back up on that spot in a real hurry if that doesn't work.
It feels like I tweeted this. We're back in the Tyratty era where we're like, this guy goes to the net. He moves okay. He's got okay hands. Maybe this works. And it's wildly depressing that in a year that started with Stanley Cup aspirations, and I suppose those still exist, it's game, 17, 18, and we're like, all right, top 6 Janmark, let's go.
Well, it just shows like how painful the Evander Kane loss is. And it's every team deals with injuries, but losing a guy that you had undoubtedly written in pen as your first line winger alongside Connor McDavid, losing him for that long, man, that one's painful, because no matter what Woodcroft tries, no matter who he puts in that spot, none of them are Evander Kane. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping Janmark surprises us. Maybe he does. Like, at the same point, Tyler, would it really surprise you tomorrow if he sinks 2 goals? It wouldn't surprise me at all. Sometimes these things are just weird in a short-term vacuum. We'll see what happens. How confident am I out of 10? 4. That's not very confident, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see where it goes. I'm checking in on the YouTube chat. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a solid. Hammer that like button for us. Let's get the likes up. We're only at 4 right now. We need more than that. I want to talk to you about potential additions on this team. Yesterday, Frank Seravalli was on. I asked him about defensemen, and he responded with forwards, a center, and maybe some toughness in the bottom 6 as well. Getting more players who are tough to play against. In the chat right now, Rusty says, I don't know who we could add. That's the problem. I think the answer is in-house. They have to step up and get it done. He's saying it's an effort thing. If everyone worked as hard as a guy like Zach Hyman, the Oilers wouldn't need to add team toughness. They wouldn't have to add anyone because this team would just be better. Riley says Bob Stauffer and company are beating the drum for team toughness, but reducing goals against is still by far the biggest issue we're facing. We need a D so bad. Where do you come out on this?
Do you ever notice how team toughness doesn't matter when the Oilers are winning? Do you ever notice that? It's like they lost. They had a game against LA where it got a little bit rough and tumble. Connor McDavid took that dirty, dirty knee from Alex Edler. So now we're talking about team toughness again. But let me tell you, if the Oilers had won that game 5-1, nobody would care. Defense is a bigger problem. I love Frank Seravalli. I love chatting to him. The guy is a wealth of knowledge. But man, defense is a way bigger problem than some guy who can chuck the knuckles around. You need to keep the puck out of the net, and the Oilers just aren't doing a good enough job of that right now.
And where I'll go with this too is I agree the Oilers can maybe add someone that makes them tougher to play against, but they don't need to go find a Nick Delorier or just someone who throws their fists around and drops the gloves. Like, that's not the idea of team toughness. And it kind of strikes me because you're right. It's never an issue when they're winning. No one's ever like, oh, this team doesn't have anyone who can fight when they rattle off 6 wins in a row. And it's a bit of a, I don't want to call it like a full-on lazy narrative, but it's one of those things where it's just an easy straw to grasp at. Like, oh, they're losing. Why are they losing? Oh, because they're not tough enough. And it's, well, I agree. They could be harder to play against. And maybe to Rusty's point, it's going to take some guys learning to play a tougher style. But I don't think they need to go find someone who's going to drop the gloves, because if they had a guy on their roster who could fight, they would still be 9-8.
How many games did the Oilers win when Steve McIntyre was on the team? Because there was nobody better at fighting than him for a time. And it didn't do anything. If the guy who you're bringing in to fight or be the tough guy or whatever it is that you want to call it, if he can't play, if he can't contribute on the ice, then there's no point in having that person in the roster. Know what there is a point in? Eliminating goals against. And right now, they're just not doing a good enough job of that. The defense needs an upgrade. I will take a defensive upgrade over a tough dude. Like, if you give me the example, Tyler, of bringing Zach Kassian back right now, forget what the trade would look like. Just bring Zach Kassian back right now, or a defense that can bolster the right side, a shutdown guy who maybe is a little bit physical, but just genuinely stops the puck from going in the net. I'm taking defense every single time. Every time.
You just put a very interesting idea in my head.
Go ahead.
Zach Kassian. What's his deal here? I'm just pulling it up, double check. So
Don't even start. Don't even start with it.
3.2
It's just not going to happen. It's
2
just
more
not going
years.
to happen. Arizona's going to retain 50.
Maybe. Would you have any interest in him at 1.6 mil?
Sure. Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just where I was going, is like at 1.6, he's interesting, but I still don't think that's gonna happen. Right?
No, it's not going to
That
happen.
just
But
that is
like,
gonna happen. It's an
if you
interesting
got the
idea.
option to bring in, it is. But if you got the option to bring in $1.6 million defender, like let's just talk apples to apples in terms of dollars,
Yeah.
you take the defender every time. Every time.
What if you could get a third team involved in Cassian's only $800K?
I'm gonna get after it. Okay, then I'm in. I'm in. $800K. Let's do it.
Rusty says Cassian was actually scratched against Vegas last night, which is interesting. We were just talking about narratives.
If you're scratched on Arizona, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Even at $800K, come on.
Something tells me Cass might have, the plane might have landed in Arizona when he got traded there, and he looked around at the warm air and was like, yeah, this is going to be a great spot to make $3.2 million for the next 2 years. No more big market pressure and all that, which is good. I mean, he's earned that. He signed the ticket. You were talking about the narrative of team toughness, and you're right. If the Oilers rattle off 5 straight wins, we will not be whispering about team toughness. And it reminds me of, remember the first few years of McDavid and Draisaitl, where it was like, they're not good enough defensively for this team to go all the way. They'll never go on a deep playoff run until McDavid and Draisaitl get better defensively. Then they went on a deep playoff run, not because McDavid and Draisaitl got better defensively at all, just because they got better at producing offense and better at scoring. And that narrative just quickly died off. It was wrong. It was wrong the whole time, but it just died off because the team's success started to cloud it. And the team toughness thing is in that same angle for me, where it's like, once they start winning, we're not going to be talking about this, but we will still be talking about the defense, in my opinion.
We were talking about team toughness last year when the Oilers were 2-11-2. And then guess what happened? They did not add any more team toughness, and the team went to the Western Conference Finals. It's just like, yeah, you don't want to be easy to play against. You don't want to be pushovers. All that's true. I'm in on it. I love a good scrap as much as the next person. But you know what I love even more than a good scrap? Goals. You know what I love even more than goals? Wins. And that's ultimately what matters. And this isn't a spot where I think the Oilers really need to focus on defense.
Is today going to be the last time this show is live on Twitter?
No, it's not. I think it's actually hilarious. 100%. If you think Elon Musk legitimately spent $44 billion to allow Twitter to collapse and go away within 6 weeks, you're out of your mind. It's not happening. You know what this is, Tyler? This has got big, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Canada vibes. And nobody moved to Canada, buddy. Nobody's here.
The whole thing of like, if this is going to be my last tweet, and then sitting here this morning and seeing them all from last night, it was like, oh man, it was like someone compared it to it's the 2022 version of Y2K.
Yeah, like I was having fun with it last night, but like mine were just completely ridiculous. Like I'm calling people to go back to MySpace and ICQ. Like it's silly. All the folks that said they're quitting Twitter if Elon joined. Well, you've got followers on Twitter and you have them nowhere else. You need that little dopamine rush. Nobody's quitting anything. Elon's not letting Twitter die. Just relax.
You on Better Late Than Never, for the people watching who don't know, Baggedmilk has his own podcast, Better Late Than Never, late spelled Lait, like milk, get it?
Get it?
You had a question on your pod the other day about weird snacks or something. Give me some of the best responses.
There was just some really weird ones. Like one that sticks in my mind off the top of my head was rice, soy sauce, and chopped up pickles. That was just gross to me. There was like just liverwurst, like sliced up, like put it on a cracker at least. There's just some really weird ones, and that's why I always love asking those kind of questions on Better Late Than Ever, because we're all just weirdos out here at the end of the day, and I love it. And that's what that podcast is all about, just interacting with Oilers Nation citizens and just having a good time. It's a fun podcast to do, and having answers like that, like our girl Kylie. Rice with ketchup on it. Nobody does that. Up. It's gross. Yeah, it's gross. Weird and gross. So it's just that kind of stuff that comes through, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. I'm always going to be interested in the weird shit people eat. Old cheddar with sour cream and barbecue sauce came through. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Sardines on buttered toast. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you at all. How's this one, Tyler? Craft dinner, but I add in pepper, ketchup, salsa, wieners, and ham. Like, what? What kind of high shit are you building at your house? So that's what we've got going on my podcast. It's silly, it's nonsense, it's light, and it's fun.
Really brings my veggie take into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, all of a sudden it's not so weird.
Yeah. All right.
Not so weird.
We got a new
some
episode
veggies with some butter and garlic.
We have a new episode of Oilers Nation Radio dropping this afternoon, so people can look for that. I'll chat with you then. Thanks for hopping on, BM.
Talk to you in a little bit.
Baggedmilk for the bro down. As always, a good time. Let's get to the wrap for today's episode. The captain, Ryan Felton, asking when the next watch along will be. That is a good question. Let's workshop this thing. Coming up, it's a road trip through the East, which I think are the best ones to do watch-alongs for. I'll be honest, I probably won't do one Monday against Jersey. Wednesday, Islanders 5:30 is actually a really interesting one. If not that, maybe the 7:30 the following Wednesday against Chicago. So if people want to watch along, one of the next two Wednesdays, I think, is when we'll maybe try crush out one more of those. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, 11 a.m., Oilers Rangers. We are going to be doing this show, Oilers Nation Everyday, live from Soho. It's our brunch for Ben party. You can get your tickets now, nationgear.ca. We got some cool shirts that you get along with your tickets as well. Really good stuff. Nationgear.ca. We got that. And we also have our latest AMA Travel Nation vacation. We are going out to Toronto. So all the details are there. Leafs, Oilers, Saturday night. We're sitting in a gondola box. Oh, it's going to be sick. We're in a gondola suite. And it comes with food, too. There's like a buffet in there. It's going to be awesome. But anyways, before that, nationgear.ca, Saturday, 11 o'clock, brunch for Ben at Soho. Reed asked, Tyler, you got any curling tips for me? Just started this year. Well, I'm not that good. So there's that. My biggest tip for curling, if you're just looking to have some fun, is make sure you have a jug of beer down on the ice with you. And that makes it infinitely more enjoyable. And learn to throw good guards. If you can throw good guards and just get it past the hog line, I think you'll be able to survive. I don't even do that often, and I'm able to survive. What else going on in the chat here? Jackson, Tyler, can you make veggies on the live stream? Get a little like hot stove right here. You guys want to see me eat lunch? Tyler eats. Let's bring in Liam here. Let's get to our betting for our friends at Betway. Liam, it's a load of shit that there's only one game on a Friday night in the NHL.
And what a game we have. The Vancouver Canucks versus the LA Kings. I know everyone here wants to see that. I know everyone in the world wants to see that. That's why it's the only game on in the NHL tonight. I have two picks. Obviously, you could parlay them if you want. I'm going to go with the LA Kings to win in regulation. I thought that was a bit juicy, plus 145. And then I also went with Brock Besser's shot prop, which was minus 125, over 2.5. He missed it last game, but he hit it like 3 or 4 in a row before that. There wasn't a ton I liked, but those are the two I went for.
Bo Horvat shot prop for me. Sitting at 2.5, paying like minus 170. I think it's a good enough spot. He crushes it pretty consistently. So if you want a little free money on a Friday night, go with that. NFL picks for the week. I'm up 3 units on the season, wagering on the National Football League. Atlanta, Chicago over 49 is a spot I really like. It's in Atlanta, in a dome. I think that could be an absolute shootout between those two offenses. Eagles, Bengals, moneyline parlay. I think the Eagles are getting undervalued. I even like them straight up at -7. They're coming off a loss, their first loss of the season, but I think it's a great bounce back spot against Indy. It's one of those instances where you have a team who didn't cover, a favorite who didn't cover against an underdog who did cover their last time, and those two meeting up, take the over, even with the points. But Eagles, Bengals, moneyline parlay, Stephon Diggs over 79.5 receiving yards is the other play.
Are you disappointed we won't see the Buffalo Bills try and play in that snow? It's like playing on the North Pole right now.
Yeah, so if people haven't heard about this, Bills-Browns this weekend in Buffalo. Buffalo is about to go through like one of the worst snowstorms or most extreme snowstorms I think the U.S. has ever seen. It's up there. 4 to 6 feet of snow. The entire, like in Edmonton, we usually don't get 4 to 6 feet in the whole winter. I heard Josh Clausen, the local weather guy, talking about that. Like, they are getting a whole year's worth of Edmonton snow in the matter of 2 days. So they've moved the game to Detroit. They're not playing it in Buffalo. But if you have a sec, go find the Bills on Instagram and look at some of the pictures of the stadium. It is jarring. It's wild.
It is crazy. Von Miller put up a picture on his Instagram too. I think his story of his car, and you just can't see the car. It's just snow around the car. I guess a couple of picks I have. I had the Minnesota Vikings plus 1.5 at home against Dallas on the spread. I feel like that's a pretty good spot. Minnesota is, what are they, 7-1, 8-1, whatever it is.
Yeah,
They're a very good football team either way. Yeah, and then I also like the Commanders to beat Houston minus 3.5, minus 3 on the spread. Sorry, minus 110 is what I was trying to say. And then since it's coming up, I'll just drop a little World Cup pick. May as well if we're here. I'm gonna go with Qatar and Ecuador opens up the tournament on Sunday, so that's not exactly a thriller. But I'm just gonna bet that both teams score, which is coming in at plus 110. A little juice there. May as well chase it. See what happens.
So you're not buying the reports that Qatar has paid off Ecuador and they're going to win the game exactly 1-0?
I am buying the reports that they have tried to pay off Ecuador. I'm not buying the reports that Ecuador has agreed to be paid off. So I think if you want to chase it even more, Ecuador is plus 140. Or if you believe the rumors, Qatar is plus 220. So there you go.
Look what I picked up at the sports closet today. I'm going all in. I'm going all in on the World Cup. We got a little Canada lid. Little black Canada lid.
Wow.
Pretty sharp. You can find this. Price is Right style. Retails at $36. And I also got this bad boy.
Oh, a sweater.
Little hoodie.
That's a good
That's
one.
pretty
That's
nice, hey?
Yeah, that'll be good. I'll bring out the mustache.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, sportscloset.ca for all your World Cup needs. Load up, get your Oilers reverse retro gear. Sports Closet's going to have a bunch of like the Adidas logoed reverse retro like hoodies and stuff too. And then you can get your World Cup gear while you're there as well. I'm excited. I'm going to become a big soccer guy over the next few weeks. Also, if you want some soccer content, Liam, up at Oilersnation.com, you have like a beginner or a hockey fan's guide to the World Cup coming up. Take us through that.
Yeah, so it's a little 3-part series. So there's the first part came out yesterday, which was just about like how Canada got to the World Cup and the journey they went on to get there. And then today, at some point, there'll be one about who they play at the World Cup. And then over the weekend, we'll release another one about who's on the team for Canada. Like, obviously, there's a lot of names that people probably know. Like, Alphonso Davies is from Edmonton, but he's a very talented team. So I just wanted to show people who they're going to be cheering for at the World Cup. And hopefully Canada can make some noise. Not as much noise as England will hopefully make, but just enough to do well enough.
What's the English World Cup saying?
It's coming home.
It's coming home.
It's coming home.
I'm telling you, I don't know very much about the sport. Got a funky feeling it's not coming home. Okay, we're going to wrap this up with a little bit more Oilers talk quickly here. Klim Kostin spoke to the media today. You know what? He might be becoming a fan favorite. I don't know if you saw his Instagram story the other day where he talked about how much he loved the atmosphere in the crowd. And then today he spoke with reporters and he said, quote, "I'm just always trying to do my best." God damn. Isn't that relatable?
What more can you ask for? That's all we need. That's all we ask as Oilers fans. Give us an effort. Show us that you care.
All right, we are going to wrap this bad boy up. Shout out to our friends at the Sports Closet. Once again, sportscloset.ca. Shout out to everyone who followed along in the YouTube chat as well. Tomorrow, it is a Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. Oilers versus Knights. It's a big one. You won't want to miss it. We'll be live right back here on the Nation Network YouTube. We'll chat with you then. Enjoy your Friday night, Oilers fans.